a lot of people where that come from Bitcoin originally that are more like the libertarian anarchist type, they would, what they hoped would happen with this is that we would see sort of like a parallel monetary system where the governments don't have a say, right? So they tend to get frustrated when they see regulators get involved, or they see standardized procedures, as you put it, try to be inputted into this whole thing.
Oh, I agree with you totally. Like when I first got into the space, we were dealing in the crypto anarchist era, where you had these like, the cypherpunks, the crypto anarchists, and basically like the idea was like the existing regulations and architectures by which society regulates us don't serve the purposes we need. And what blockchain and crypto will enable is us to transcend these and create a better system. That argument in my mind is inherently flawed, because in order for crypto to become this, the thing they wanted, basically this alternative mechanism by which to do all these things, it would have had to be regulated from the first place. So by definition, it can never have been this libertarian, it could never have been what the initial crypto punks wanted in the first place. It just never would have been that. So, it's a result of its own success. The fact that Bitcoin, at one point is worth $1 trillion, and like you have major market caps and all these other things, it's wonderful. And I think it really teaches people about different concepts, particularly when it comes to their understanding and their thoughts related to what is money, what is value, what are fiat dollars. But the other side of that is that in order for it to reach that point and to continue to grow, there needs to be established parameters and there needs to be regulations and the like, which basically make it difficult for libertarians to deal with in the first place.
Okay, I'm going to see if I can very quickly find the tweet that I really like, because I would really like to get your input into this. Because every time that I go into Reddit, or every time that I go into any of these platforms where crypto people are just let alone in our own eco bubble, you see that we have there's always the same talking points, and there's this feeling that Elizabeth Warren and the different regulators in space, they're just trying to shut down crypto, or they're trying to threaten crypto because they feel like this is threatening the whole system, the legacy system that put them in that place in the first.
I don't think that's, I understand that interpretation, but I don't necessarily think that's the proper analysis. And I think what Elizabeth Warren's saying, and we're intimately familiar with everything she's saying because it sort of plays into our whole thesis, in that Elizabeth Warren, in her recent letters and comments to Chairman Gensler from the SEC, is basically saying there needs to be regulation here. There needs to be clear parameters of regulation. Now, Elizabeth Warren, by definition, is trying to be sensationalist because she's trying to get votes in some capacity. It's not really dealing with the specific issues. The specific issue, in my mind, is the clarity as to how this is regulated. Like, the way I think it should be regulated is that if you change the definition of a security, and I believe in the 1933 Securities Act, to include digital assets and have digital assets include virtual currency, stablecoin, tokens, et cetera, DeFi, like, that will then bring everything under the purview of the SEC. And now you'll have a regulator who's really capable of regulating the industry. As it stands right now, I don't think the Money Service Bureau money transmitter licensure is necessarily the best regime to regulate virtual currency exchanges. And because there's just not the enforcement arm there. Whereas if the SEC regulated it, they would have the soldiers to basically make sure that everyone stayed kosher under the rules that the SEC laid out. So, like, I think that Elizabeth Warren is progressing the issue forward, not necessarily in the best route, but she's doing an okay job in the sense that there needs to be regulation. I would argue that DeFi is undoubtedly a regulated activity. And there needs to be mechanisms to make sure, like the things I keep on mentioning, that investors are protection, that they have full and fair disclosure documents, and that the markets that they're trading on are legitimate, which is fair and orderly markets. And those are three of the tenets, basically three of the mandates of the SEC. And what's really important is that that's the way to basically introduce integrity into the system. That's why for almost a decade now, we've been arguing, and we firmly believe in everything we've done, that the federal securities laws provide the best framework to regulate all these activities.